was very determined not to like Frozen, and I have my reasons. Super lazy and generic art, the lack of people of color, same face syndrome, the appropriation of Sami culture, removing a ton of female characters from the original fairy tale and leaving us with 2. And from what I'd seen of the trailers, I was certain the snowman was going to annoy me. But I ended up really liking it. Olaf included. I loved the majority of the music. It was funny. I thought it was great how Elsa's lack of boyfriend wasn't a big deal. I thought it was a fun and enjoyable movie. And listening to the audience react to the Hans reveal was always hilarious.
If only there was someone out there who loved you.
Oh, hell no, you motherfucker! What surprised me most about Frozen was how strongly I identified with both of the female characters. Like Anna, I say weird things without meaning to. I start talking before I finish the sentence in my head. My approach to relationships has been to fall too hard and too fast, and I rush into things all the time without thinking them all the way through. Like Elsa, I enjoy being alone. Sometimes I'm quiet and reserved. I feel guilt for the times I've lashed out at my brother, family, friends, boyfriend, and for the times that they've seen me break down. Feeling overwhelmed by anxiety, shutting myself away from the people I care about because it's easier than confronting my problems. I think it's safe to say that Disney has never made a character like Elsa before. While the theme of isolation for being different is something that Disney does quite a lot, I don't think it's ever been as intense as it is with Elsa. A lot of people see Elsa's powers and how she deals with them as a metaphor for mental illness, but I don't see it that way. And by that I mean, I think we're meant to know that Elsa suffers from some kind of mental illness. It's not based solely on subtext. If we put Elsa in a modern setting and took away her ice powers, there would still be things about her character that would indicate mental illness. The ice powers are there to make the story more interesting, and to help kids understand Elsa's behavior by giving a physical manifestation of her illness. Because I'm going to assume that most kids don't recognize depression or social anxiety disorder as a disorder, but most of the adults will. And Elsa exhibits these kinds of qualities quite plainly. She isolates herself, she convinces herself that she's a danger and a burden to her family. She bottles up her fear until it culminates in a mental breakdown in which she accidentally hurts her sister. While we can't know what she would have done, I get the distinct feeling that if Elsa had seen Hans about to go all Game of Thrones on her, she might not have done anything to stop him, which is sad but also important. Because mental illness is this huge thing that society doesn't really like to acknowledge. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that the stories about mental illness are usually filled with violence or death. Violence. Even when that doesn't happen, we hardly ever see it get better. Like, Monk's been going to therapy for 7 years and he stayed the same. While obsessive compulsive or bipolar disorder isn't something that can really be cured, it can be managed with proper treatment, whether it's through therapy or prescribed medication or both. And that's something really awesome about Frozen. While Elsa gaining control and melting the ice at the end is much more of a convenient epiphany than fleshed out character development, I think it's obvious that it's Anna's support and Elsa's willingness to accept that support that helps her melt the ice. And that shows people that it can get better. That mental illness isn't this hopeless thing that will keep you broken forever, or that you have to face it alone. That getting help is nothing to be ashamed of. And in fact, not doing so can be dangerous. And I think it's worth mentioning that this idea is conveyed with 2 sisters, instead of having a romantic interest sweep in and BAM! Problem solved. And of course, you want your significant other to be there for you if that is your situation. But all too often we see stories where someone's mental illness is fixed by being in a relationship. That's another thing. Elsa doesn't end up with a guy. It's not even implied that she'll eventually come around. And it's also not a crucial part of her story. While Hans kind of mentions it,
Elsa was preferable, of course, but no one was getting anywhere with her.
It seems that Elsa being single is not questioned or odd to the people of Arendelle. Which is good, considering how asexuality and women specifically choosing not to be in a relationship often really confuses people. It's cool that we're shown a story where a woman makes that decision and it's not a major plot point. Like with Merida before her, Elsa's lack of a romantic storyline often makes people think about whether or not she might be a lesbian. And that's a valid argument, that her ice powers are representative of having to conceal a sexual or gender identity. Hooray for subtext! Because that's all it is. It's a story that a lot of people can put themselves into, and that's great. But that doesn't do anything for the positive representation of those people in real life. And we shouldn't be applauding Disney for representation they didn't give us, which unfortunately happens happens a lot. We're getting to a point where we see more and more of those stories being told, because it's important to see transgender stories, and lesbian stories, and gay stories, and bisexual stories. It's all important. But it's all on shows meant for adults, even though those aren't things that only adults should know about. I'm tired of the LGBT community having to only see themselves through subtext in children's stories. It's like saying, yes, we acknowledge you, Laverne Cox, but we don't want children to know about you. How will we explain it to them? Which is really sad, because Laverne Cox is a gift to this cold and cruel world. And let's be serious, besides the fact that there are a lot of people that it might upset, what reason does Disney have for not showing those characters? Unless we're going to be showing something that's actually inappropriate for children, like a sex scene or something, there's no good reason. But wait, we show straight people in kids' movies all the time without sex scenes. A transgender version of Cinderella would make so much sense, is all I'm saying. And that's not to say that we need a transgender version of Cinderella. There's no reason that Disney can't make something completely new, just like with Elsa and her story. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you liked this video, thumbs up, and if you want to see more of these kinds of videos, be sure to click this little logo thing here in the corner. Thanks for listening. The Princess will see you next week.